All right, good morning. It's 9 o'clock on Thursday, July 2nd, 2026, and I'd like to call the meeting of the Iowa City Civil Service Commission to order. Note that we do have a quorum with everyone in attendance. We have two items on the agenda. The first is certification of the hiring list for the city of the position as Iowa City police officers.
Yeah, so Tracy distributed the statistics from the most recent round of testing. So we do this kind of rolling as lists expire. We just go ahead and automatically open up the process for the next testing cycle. So this most recent round, we ended up with 60 applications. That includes applications, anything that has been submitted since the date of our last test. So it is not at all unusual for people to have applied a few months ago that, for whatever reason, choose not to follow through with the process. The numbers actually, if I went back and looked this morning, they stay pretty consistent with kind of where we start, how many people actually participate, and then where we end up. But we ended the process. We had 12 people who participated in the written test. We did have, if you are a current Iowa certified police officer, you don't have to participate in the written or the PT testing. You're automatically qualified for interview. So we had 12 people that participated in the PT testing, had 10 who qualified and opted to participate in the interviews, and that resulted in a recommendation that 5 of those individuals be placed on a certified hiring list. So if you have any questions, we'll do our best, but pretty much standard stuff.
I'm still very happy with how HR does the process. Like I mentioned before, they're very nimble. We used to do it where it was, hard and fast. If you can't make it on this date, we'll see you next time. Accepting applications at all times, I think, is a good thing, but we do run into some of them become maybe a little bit stale. I think we're doing processes enough that it's, they're only 3 or 4 months at most. When I compare what we're doing to what similar agencies around the area are doing, I think we compare very favorably. It's still a challenging time to recruit for law enforcement, but I think it is getting better. City Communication is working on our new recruiting video, so excited to see that. But we say this every time, and we're at 83 right now of an authorized 85. There's 5 people on this list, including 2 certified, so we'll see. We'll get close again. 83 is the highest we've had since I've been here. So that's in the last 5.5 years. So that's a good number to be at. There's always natural attrition, so we anticipate losing a few here and there through retirement or other reasons. But we're in a good space. Yeah. We're in a good space.
I think one thing that we've seen with the way that we're doing this now is we have worked with some candidates who have maybe struggled with either the post or the PT and been close, but not quite made it. And this has given us an opportunity to say, don't be discouraged, right? We've got study materials, or you know exactly where you fell short on the PT. There will be another opportunity coming up, likely within the next 3 or 4 months. So they have an opportunity, if they're truly invested, to know what they need to work on, where they need to improve, and then can come back and try it again without having to wait, right? And start all over again, a year later, or just kind of have to move on to pursue their interest with another department. And we do see repeat candidates who have come back sometimes even more than once or more than twice, and have ultimately made it to the interview. So that has been gratifying for us to see somebody who maybe doesn't make it through one of the tests, but who still comes back and continues to kind of work at it and try. So, yeah.
So 12 people applied? Is that, or
Nope.
is that 60 applied and 12 got it.
60 applied. We had 12 people who participated in the post test. So if you don't pass the post test, you're done. If you pass the post test, then you can take the PT, and then you have to pass both or be certified to qualify for an interview. So we had 10 people who participated in interviews, and 5 of those are being recommended for hire.
Sorry, I forgot about the 60 there. So.
Yeah, right. Yep.
It gets, and it's funny. Karen alluded to it. It's the same every time. Every step seems to cleave half of the people off,
Yeah.
what for lack of interest or whatever. But every step, and
Yeah.
before you know it, if we have 60, we know we're going to interview between 10 and 15 people, and we know we're probably going to have 5 to 7 people on the list.
Yeah.
It's just like Groundhog's Day.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And I did go back. I was curious. The last time that we did kind of what our traditional time frame had looked like before we moved to this rolling cycles model was the list that was certified in August of 2021. And we had 25 interview candidates and 13 names were certified. And over our 3 cycles that we've completed in the last 12 months, we've done 27 interviews and certified 13 names. So I think what we're getting in terms of like the quick turnaround, giving people opportunities to participate in the test without having to wait an extended period of time for those to roll around. We're certainly not losing anything, but I think we're offering a lot of flexibility that's been beneficial to candidates.
And it works for you and what you're doing too.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's perfect.
fantastic.
Okay.
And it seems to make sense because if you have candidates that have applied in more than one department, if the process is long,
Right.
You can-
odds of losing some of those candidates that we might be interested in.
Yep.
We could
You see it as fire too.
Here.
I mean, the current hiring list for the fire department, there's 3 or 4 people that won't leave. They've been hired elsewhere and they won't leave to come here. Like, we already know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, if you can do it faster, that's,
Yeah.
you catch them.
You're in constant competition, and I think I didn't sit in the interviews, but I think some of the people on that list are in other agencies' processes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay, other questions, discussion? Okay, do we have a motion to certify the hiring list for the positions of police officer for the city of
I'll
Alpha?
motion that.
I'll second.
And all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
All right.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Go ahead and sign this. The second item on the agenda is police promotional testing.
Right, so we put together, as we typically do, we tried to prepare, hopefully, an understandable proposal for a promotional process for the police department. This is something that the chief and I have had quite a bit of discussion about, and this is modeled off of kind of the new model that we piloted with the fire process last year that we felt was an effective tool. There is kind of a tweak where we're trying to get a little bit closer to what we think is, really kind of filling some gaps that kind of exist in the structure that has been used in the past and still fits within the parameters of the promotional testing requirements of Chapter 400. So we're again proposing that we move forward with weighted interview panels, that we not incorporate an assessment center with an outside consultant into the process. And we are recommending that we add an additional component that brings in some type of more formalized assessment of actual demonstrated performance history. That is a piece that has been missing, and we think is a really important consideration in determining qualification ability for promotion, is how someone actually performed on the job. Oftentimes, one of the things that we have been concerned with the promotional processes in the past is that, there could be the potential always that you have a candidate who just maybe is not having a great day, has a lot of nerves, doesn't represent themselves completely up to their full capability or potential on that given test day in those specific exercises, but day in, day out, really has proven themselves to be very capable and shown potential for a higher level of responsibility. Or the reverse, maybe someone who's able to come in and really kind of shine in this process, especially before external assessors, right? But who day in and day out, there are real issues that maybe don't get vetted through the process. And so we feel like this adds that balance back in. Also, the issue that we have seen with 400 is for promotional lists, once those are certified, they're good for 2 years, period. So unless they're exhausted, that's the only list that the chief can use to promote. And if we were to have someone who the chief did not feel was a valid promotional candidate, he's not required to promote them, but then he could be kind of roadblocked, right? You either have to forego a promotion until a period of time expires, or risk making a promotion that may not be the right move for the organization. So we feel like kind of incorporating this will help to vet some of that out if there are any concerns of that nature there. You know, it's kind of like tantamount any other position. You have the benefit of doing reference checking, or, you know, a hiring list. You can do your backgrounds and your reference checks and choose not to move on. That doesn't mean that it stops you from being able to then call for a new list. The promotional list has that restriction. And so we feel like this is a kind of a good way, a practical way to kind of bridge that gap. So that's what we're getting at. It's something that's new. We'd be happy to entertain any questions. I don't know if the chief has any comments that he wanted to offer.
Yeah, I think you've covered most of the ground. As someone who benefited from the assessment center, and also someone who's been an assessor at multiple different agencies throughout the country, it was very frustrating for me because you just don't get to know the person. And again, someone can go in there and knock your socks off, and you don't know what their work history is. You don't get to know them at all. Or the opposite, someone could really lay an egg and they could have the work history, the experience that we never really took into consideration. And some of the things that some of the assessment centers recently have been measuring, I don't think are all that important.
Yes.
How well someone puts together a PowerPoint or something like that. That was always frustrating me. Some of the feedback we would get from our assessors was like, well, they could have had more color in their Porpoint. Well, that's not really what we're looking for.
You can teach somebody how to do
Yeah. And in all fairness,
You can teach that.
well,
I wouldn't pass
or
those
you could
tests.
pop it into ChatGPT and have it automatically produced for you in about,
Right,
you know what I'm
exactly.
saying? It's just kind of an obsolete.
And we just want to make
Process.
sure it's a fair process and that everyone has equal opportunity to succeed. I had a conversation with our union representation, and they told me they think it's my purview to do what we want as long as they're good with it, as long as they think everyone has an equal opportunity to do well on it. So, and I think we do.
Yeah, and so we tried to make clear that the document that would be prepared that would kind of summarize for the sake of efficiency, time, and consistency of information would be prepared by the captains who are not participating in any level of this process and who would have a high level of responsibility and oversight within the department. It would all be based on information that's already existing in the department personnel file. So this is not anything that should be new or unknown to the candidates. Anyone has the opportunity to review their file at any time. Anything that's in their file, they should already be aware of. So it's really just a summary of what their personnel record reflects. And we will distribute that to them before the interviews, so they have an opportunity to know exactly what's being presented to that internal panel. They can meet with the captains if they want to have a conversation about the contents of that, and they will also be given opportunity to address it directly with the panel at the time of their interview.
And that part was important, though. I think both of us, I didn't want something that seemed like an ambush, where someone
Right.
walks into an interview and they're like, oh, geez, what's this? You know, we're going to give that to the applicant or in plenty of time that they can review it and they can discuss it, like she said, with the authors. So and then they'll have an opportunity to address it with the panel.
And I like the fact it's stuff that's already existing in
Yeah.
the personnel file. It's not a time for people to start
Right.
airing their grievances
Right.
Exactly.
about this,
Right.
that, or the other thing.
It's
Absolutely.
got to be as objective as possible.
Yep.
Okay.
I had a question. When was the last time, or kind of what's the reasoning behind where the education requirements are? Or when was the last time they were even changed or looked at?
That would be a better.
They've been in existence for
I know they've been for a while. I
Right,
just
right, yeah. They've been in existence for years, quite frankly, and the position requirements are established, by the city, right? So, yeah, but the educational requirements have been established for some time. I don't know, they probably haven't been reviewed in 15 years anyway.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
1987 and 1989.
when they were added.
Well, they were changed because originally you had to have 5 years experience as a police officer. And then, before you could take the promotional test, and then 2 years later, they reduced that to 3 years. So I think it's right around that time frame.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just curious.
yeah. Thanks. See, Rick remembers everything.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
not what I had for lunch.
Sorry.
We have a good history.
So, other questions, comments? I guess the only question I would have would be for the panel, what type of training or information would they get prior to participating in the panel?
Which panel?
Any of the panels that are conducted.
The hiring.
Yes, the hiring panels.
So the interview panels will be scoring. So we'll have a session. We'll just brief them that morning. I mean, obviously the internal panel will be staff who already have familiarity. There would all be managers, already current supervisors with hiring, interviewing experience at least a kind of what we would consider to be an above an equivalent rank. So like for the sergeants who are first time supervisors, right, we would expect that we'd be working with like division heads, maybe operations supervisors, somebody who's already kind of done that level of job or higher within the city. So these are people that are already going to be familiar with civil service hiring procedures, the city's policies, procedures, would have been through any management trainings that we have had organization-wide. Externally, we're looking, those are all going to be folks who are at a rank above the rank being tested or higher from other departments. And we're really looking to them to kind of vet our candidates through more of like the professional police lens, right? That maybe our internal staff won't have. They're going to be bringing their expertise as managers within the city organization and their experience to the process. We're looking for kind of the technical perspective from the chiefs, but we'll go through. We usually sit down and meet with them before at the beginning of the day, walk through the process, walk through the scoring matrix, go through the interview questions, and make sure that everyone feels comfortable before we get started. But we won't do any kind of formal orientation.
How do you put that group together? Is there just kind of a group of departments that participate and share their...
Oh, for the external police folks, the chief usually takes care of recruiting those folks because he has the contacts to do that.
We just reach out to our contacts. We participate in them all
That's
over the
nice.
state.
Yeah.
And, we just try to find people of the appropriate rank and who are willing to do it. A lot of people are willing to do it because they know we have to ask the same of them. We usually try to get people who are kind of somewhere around the area, so it's not a big lift for them. But
Yeah, in general, they're folks who have, like he said, have done it elsewhere, have done a fair amount. They're comfortable with coming in and sitting down and being open to kind of, giving some valuable feedback.
not really dissimilar from how the old process worked with
Correct.
the assessment centers. They basically do the same thing.
Yeah, that's just more my clarification question is the police panel interview is kind of more the replacement of the assessment center. That's the more technical hands-on side of it.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And then feedback after the interviews. How does that look?
We'll provide scores. So we have, I think there are 6 scored categories that result. So we'll provide scores, but we won't provide any specific comment. We won't ask the interview panels to offer any critiques or anything like that. Honestly, Rick, I know we've offered feedback after the assessment centers. I would question how much value there really was in that, because I know that some of the comments that were shared were more to the things that the chief was talking about, like, listen, you need to make better eye contact when you're presenting. Maybe you were a little bit fidgety. Maybe your PowerPoint wasn't as vibrant as we might like it to be. I don't know that it's necessarily what they were getting was necessarily the type of feedback that we would find to be particularly meaningful for someone who's looking to advance within the organization. But we definitely will give them the scores so they know in what areas they were rated as being particularly strong or not so much.
With specific feedback too, you'd have to be pretty careful about
Yeah.
not providing or giving information even if it's accurate,
Right.
that could cause a candidate to go, from an HR perspective, I'm not sure I agree with that. I want to make an issue of this, you know.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, do we have a motion to authorize the City of Iowa City Human Resource staff to coordinate and administer the panel interview assessments recommended for the sergeant, lieutenant, and captain promotional process on behalf of the Civil Service Commission?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any other comments?
I probably should have asked this before. Is there a tentative timeline for this?
We're kind of, the chief has put out some inquiries to staff. We're trying to be sensitive that there could be some vacations and things. So when he gets a good feedback on availability of staff, then we'll start reaching out to assessors. Ideally, we'd like to have it wrapped up by the end of August. But if we run into any real issues in getting everybody that needs to be together at one time, we'll just have to push it until we can make it happen.
And I think that's one of the benefits of this process. We can be a little more, to use the same word I used earlier, nimble.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's not an outside assessor that has dates set in stone. So I
Right.
think we can be a little more accommodating to those. Summer's not a great time to do it, but football season's probably even a worse time.
Right, yeah. We're really hoping by the end of August.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
That'd be a good time frame before it gets crazy.
right.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.